Who were Hasan and Hussain Ibn Ali by Miriam H. Hasan's birth. He was the older brother. It was 3 years since the Great Migration Hijrah, and Fatima, may Allah be pleased with her, was nearing the end of her pregnancy with Hasan, may Allah be pleased with him. When she went into labor, the Blessed Prophet sent his wife to her, saying, "To help Fatima give birth easily, recite Ayatul Kursi, An-Nas, Al-Falaq, and say also the following: Indeed, your Lord is Allah. He created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and makes the night give way to day. The whole of creation is His, and even the sun, moon, and stars obey Him. Praise Allah, the King of the universe." After a short and easy labor, Fatima gave birth to a beautiful boy. Soon she was visited by the noble Prophet, who said, "Show me my grandson. What is his name?" Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, the child's father, was a man of great courage, who bravely fought against evil. So he wanted to call his son Harb, meaning battle. However, this name did not meet with the Prophet's approval, and he gave the child a hitherto unknown name, Hassan. The Messenger of Allah had good reason for choosing a child's name carefully, and explained, "On the Day of Judgment you will be called by your names and your father's names, so you should choose excellent names." The noble Prophet then took his grandchild Hassan lovingly in his arms and recited the Adhan in his right ear and the Iqamah in his left. Hassan's resemblance. So in the same way as his mother Fatima, Hassan looked very much like the noble Prophet. And one day when the Messenger of Allah was out for a walk with Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and Ali, they saw Hassan. Abu Bakr lifted Hassan onto his shoulders and said, "It is beyond belief how much you look like your grandfather rather than your father." Hassan's father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, smiled at these words. Even Hassan's mother, Fatima, when putting him to bed, would say, "My dear child, you look so much like your grandfather, but not at all like your father." Even though the noble Prophet's best friend said that the person who most resembles the Messenger of Allah is his grandson, Hassan. One day they were discussing the subject when Abdullah ibn Zubair, may Allah be pleased with him, came along. So they asked him, "What is your opinion on this subject?" Abdullah ibn Zubair replied, "The person who looks most like the Blessed Prophet is the one he loves the most, his grandson, Hassan." Flowers of the Messenger of Allah. The Blessed Prophet loved his grandchildren, Hasan and Hussain, may Allah be pleased with him, very much, and sometimes sat them on his shoulders. One day, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him, visited the noble Prophet's house and saw him playing with Hassan and Hussain. He wanted to know, "O Messenger of Allah, do you really love them that much?" The beloved Prophet replied, "How could I not love them? They smell as sweet as the basil that grows in the earth." Hassan and peace. Hassan was a tender-hearted person. He gave great importance to peace within his society and did not want political ideologies to split the people and cause them to murder each other. He had heard the noble Prophet's statement about this. One day the Messenger of Allah was praying, and Hassan came in and jumped over his shoulders while he was prostrated. The Blessed Prophet raised his head very slowly so as to not hurt Hassan. This was repeated several times, and a companion of the beloved Prophet was surprised and asked, "O Messenger of Allah, why have you not played with other children as you play with Hassan?" The noble Prophet replied, "This son is sacred. Allah will bring peace between two nations through Hassan." The Blessed Prophet was foretelling an event which would take place years into the future, when Hassan would re-announce the caliphate in order to bring peace between nations, just as the beloved Prophet had predicted. Hussein's birth. He was the younger brother. Abbas's wife, Fadl, may Allah be pleased with her, had a dream that a piece of her noble Prophet's body had been put in her house. This dream so upset her that she told the Messenger of Allah about it. The Blessed Prophet interpreted this dream: "Fatima will bear a baby boy, and you are going to breastfeed him." It was 4 years after the migration to Medina, Hijrah, when Hussein, the grandchild of the noble Prophet, was born, and the dream came true. Fadl took the baby into her home and breastfed him. The Messenger of Allah gave the baby the name of Hussein by reciting the Adhan into his ear. Ali wanted to name this baby Harb as with Hassan, but the noble Prophet picked the name Hussein for him. Hussein's first morsel was a date, which was given to him by the Blessed Prophet himself. Just like Hassan, Hussein bore a remarkable resemblance to the beloved Prophet. His father, Ali, said Hassan's resemblance to the Messenger of Allah is from chest to head, whereas Hussein's similarities are all the rest of his body. Maternal feeling. When Hussein was a young baby, he had a disease that made him cry all night long, which meant that Fatima could not get any sleep herself. One day, Hussein had fallen asleep towards morning, so Fatima, having performed the morning prayer, went back to bed to sleep. The noble Prophet visited Fatima after he had performed the morning prayer, and, seeing Fatima asleep, he thought she had missed the prayers. My lovely daughter, don't ever think that just by virtue of being the noble Prophet's daughter, you can omit to perform your prayers. I swear to Allah, who has appointed me to be his last prophet, you will not enter paradise unless you perform your prayers. Wrestling matches and running. These are stories. Wrestling matches. When Hassan and Hussein began wrestling, the noble Prophet would watch them and say, "Go for it, Hassan, let me see your skills." Ali was surprised because the noble Prophet was supporting Hassan, who was older than Hussein, and said, "O Messenger of Allah, shouldn't you support Hussein?" The beloved Prophet replied, "Look, the Archangel Gabriel supports Hassan as well." Running. One day Hassan and Hussein were competing against each other at running. The noble Prophet had embraced them both and said, "Having kids leads a person to meanness and cowardliness." What the Messenger of Allah was trying to say was that when someone has children, he may have to be careful with money in order to provide for the children's needs. In the same way, a parent is afraid of dying, not because of wishing to live longer, but because the children need looking after. Leaders of Youth in Paradise. The angel Gabriel brought news to the blessed Prophet that Hassan and Hussein had been chosen to be leaders of youth in paradise. The noble Prophet was overjoyed at the news of his grandchildren's great position in paradise, and he sometimes alluded to it. One day Hussein went to the mosque, and the beloved Prophet showed him to the people and said, "If you wish to see the leader of youth in paradise, here he is." The Messenger of Allah did not just share just the news relating to Hassan and Hussein, he also spoke about his son-in-law Ali. Hassan and Hussein have been appointed to leaders of youth in paradise, but their father will be an even greater leader than they. Passing away. This is a story. One day the angel Gabriel had visited the noble Prophet and asked Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, Salama, please shut the door and do not let anyone come in. Hussein was running towards the door, and although Salama tried to prevent him entering, she could not. Running into the room, little Hussein found himself into the noble Prophet's arms, kissed and hoisted to his shoulder. When Gabriel saw this demonstration of love, he asked, "Do you love him that much?" The Messenger of Allah answered, "Yes." Then Gabriel said, "He will be murdered by your people." The noble Prophet was shocked and sorrowful for his grandchild. It was devastating for him to know that Hussein would be killed by people from his own Islamic nation. Gabriel suggested, "Should I show you where he is to be murdered?" When the blessed Prophet was shown the terrain of Karbala, he could not hold back his tears. The noble Hussein was martyred there in 680. The end. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you learned a lot. You can buy this book that I got this information, all the information from, on Amazon, and it's not too expensive, and I learned a lot from it. And I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining.